Ever seen a family tree that reads like a clock, just ticking through one generation after another with this incredible precision? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. It's right there in the book of Genesis, this super detailed record that maps out the very first family line of humanity, all the way from Adam to Noah.
So where are we getting all this from? It's all rooted in just one chapter, Genesis 5. And look, this isn't about some wild interpretation. We're going to be looking directly at the text itself, the one that lays out this whole history, from Adam all the way to, a guy who changes everything, Noah.
And the chapter kicks off with this really formal, almost official-sounding line. This is the written account of Adam's line. Right away, that tells you this isn't just some casual story. Nope, this is meant to be a structured record. And when I say structured, I mean incredibly precise, and you'll see, very repetitive, over the course of 10 whole generations.
Now, at first glance, it really does just look like a census, right? A list of names and numbers. But what if that repetitive rhythm is hiding a bigger story? As we're about to find out, that rigid structure is the whole point. It sets up this pattern, this rhythm of life and death, a rhythm that's about to get broken in a huge way.
Okay, so let's get into what I mean by this cadence. The text basically sets up this super specific repeating formula for every single generation. It's like a biographical template. And of course, where else would it start but with Adam?
The formula is actually pretty straightforward. First, you get Adam's age when his son Seth was born, 130. Then, it tells you how long he lived after that point, another 800 years. So, you do the math, and boom, a total lifespan of 930 years. And you gotta remember this formula, because we're gonna see it again and again.
And every single one of these entries, starting right here with Adam, ends with the exact same final, kind of blunt phrase, and then he died. That line becomes the drumbeat of this whole chapter, this constant, unavoidable reminder of how every one of these long lives ends.
All right, let's look at the next generation, Adam's son, Seth. Is the formula the same? Yep. He was 105 when his son Anosh was born. He lived another 807 years after that, giving him a grand total of 912 years. So you see, the pattern is now locked in tight.
And there it is again, that final phrase. Seth lived this incredibly long life, had a bunch of other kids, and then he died. It's this hypnotic rhythm, just marching on, generation after generation.
So let's just lay it out. This ancient formula is like clockwork. You get the father's name, you get his age when his heir was born, you get the number of years he lived after that, then there's always a quick mention, and had other sons and daughters, you get the total lifespan, and finally that kicker, and then he died. It's this perfectly predictable, highly structured machine.
Okay, so we've got the structure down, but let's talk about the actual numbers, because this is where things get really wild. The most astonishing part of this whole thing is, without a doubt, the lifespans. We are talking about an age of ancients, people living for centuries.
And this isn't just, one or two people who lived a long time. When you scan through the chapter, you see it's a consistent pattern of just extreme old age. You got Adam at 930, Seth at 912, a guy named Kenan at 910. The numbers are just consistently huge.
Just to give you a sense of the scale here, you've got Jared clocking in at 962 years, and even Adam, the first man, made it to 930. But there's one name that stands above all the rest. He's the record holder, the oldest man mentioned in this entire account, and his name is Methuselah.
969 years. I mean, just think about that. That's the number they give for Methuselah. His lifespan was so incredibly long that his name literally became a figure of speech for being old, right? And it comes directly from this text.
So think about it. The text has spent all this energy building up this unbreakable pattern, this totally rigid formula of life and then death. And then bam, without any warning, it completely shatters the pattern for just one guy.
And just to make the moment hit even harder, right before the pattern breaks, it holds firm one last time. We hear about Jared, who lived 962 years, and then he died. See, it reinforces the rule, which makes what happens to his son, Enoch, so absolutely stunning.
And here's the line. When we get to Enoch, there's no talk about his total lifespan. There's no, and then he died. Instead, we get this deeply mysterious and totally unique phrase. Enoch walked with God, then he was no more because God took him away. He is the only person in this entire family tree who escapes that final fatal drumbeat.
I mean, the contrast could not be more clear, right? For everybody else, the story ends the same way, and then he died. But for Enoch, it's something totally different, because God took him away. He doesn't die. He's just taken.
So, after that just dramatic interruption, what happens? The chronicle snaps right back to its old pattern. The formula is back, and it continues on, leading us straight to the final, and let's be honest, probably the most famous person on this list.
So the family line continues from Enoch to his son Methuselah. Yep, the guy who lives to be 969. And then it goes to Methuselah's son, a man named Lamech. That familiar rhythm? Have a son, live a long time, and die. It's back in full force.
But just as we're settling back into the rhythm, something else new happens with the birth of Lamech's son. We get a prophecy. Lamech looks at his newborn son and says, "He will comfort us in the labor and painful toil of our hands." He gives his son a name that's just packed with meaning and hope for the future.
And who is that son? His name is Noah. And this is really cool. The name Noah actually sounds just like the Hebrew word for comfort. So his very identity from the second he was born is tied directly to that prophecy his father made.
And this is where our family tree ends for now. The whole chronicle started with Adam and his one son Seth carrying on the line, and it all culminates with Noah, who becomes the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And these 3, well, they're the ones who are going to repopulate the entire world after the flood, which sets the stage for the next massive part of the story.
So that's what we're left with, this perfectly ordered 10-generation chronicle that hammers home this relentless pattern of life and death. So what do you make of it? What's the significance of a story that follows its own rules so strictly, only to break them just once, for one person, and then ends with this promise of comfort? That's really the big question, isn't it? And it sits right at the heart of this ancient text.
Hey, if you enjoyed digging into this ancient family tree with me, I'd really appreciate it if you'd please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.